What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today is the official release date for the brand new Chronicles Spirit Charmer All Foil Edition decks. So I thought I'd bring you an upgraded version of the list with a main, extra, and a side deck, and I'll also give you some demo test hands at the end of the video as well, so you can see what the deck wants to try and achieve. Now what I like about the Charmer deck is it actually gives you a lot of flexibility depending on what type of level you want to increase it to. Post Burst Protocol, you can actually start to include the Magister's cards, or you can actually use this as a mini engine inside Rescue Aids. Right now, you could utilize anything. You could utilize rank 5 cards, Canines, rank 3 cards, Fiendsmiths, working its way from the Djinn. But then I've decided to try and keep it as close to the Chronicle decks as possible, utilizing the Horus package. So with that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so we miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm going to take you through the profile, show you what we've got, and explain why we've got it. So I'm starting off with one area and its water channeler counterpart. Now, one big thing you need to remember is if you are looking to play the Magister's version of this deck, you are going to want to try and consider trying to get hold of the original liner. It is a bit of a shame that unfortunately they didn't come with Liner and Dark, the original channelers, but the original Charmers, sorry. But with what we've got, you kind of work with what you have and go from there. So I decided to play all of the Charmers and then their Channeler counterparts. The reason for that one is that the Channeler counterparts also act as Charmer cards. They're always treated as Charmer cards, so they are other ways of being able to search off of the Grand Circle. As there are times that if you hard open up 2 Charmer monsters and you don't have anything else that is treated as a Charmer monster, when you want to try and activate your Grand Circle, you need to get them out of the hand. Now that's a little bit easier if you're playing different versions of the deck, and the benefit of something like that is that for the Rescue Ace version, you rely on Heater. So you go through Fire Princess, you then work your way into the Link 4th Rescue Ace. If you wanted to go down the Fiendsmith route, the idea is that off of the back of your fusion monster, you bring back 2 level 3s, overlay them to the Djinn, turn that into Requiem, and then off you go. So carrying on with this one, we do play Win and then the Channeler counterpart, and then Asura plus the other counterpart to that as well. Now you can adapt this lineup as much as you see fit. You could afford to risk it and play less. In an ideal world, what you'd want to play is you want to play the original Charmers plus Light and Dark, so Liner and Dark. But because they didn't come in the deck, you kind of need to then make up the spaces by playing the others. And I just like playing these as, yes, they can open up the door for some rank 5 plays, which could be really, really fun and a little bit different. Not that I'm playing the Canine package, but if you wanted to, you could do, because your fusion monster actually brings back any spellcaster from the graveyard. It just kind of gives you a little bit of flexibility depending on what you want to try and achieve. So that's it for the Charmer monsters themselves. Moving on to the Spellbook monsters. We're only going to be playing one Spellbook monster in the form of the Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. Now, I was highly, highly tempted, and I am using one card that is a Spellbook card that did not come in the structure deck, or didn't come in the deck. I was highly tempted to consider Priestess for the deck as well, just to kind of lean more into the Spellbooks, but then I felt if you do that, you have to lean a lot more than I was ready to do. So you play 3 Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, and the idea is that this guy will gain you access to either your Spellbook of Secrets, which can also get you access to the main card you want to try and get to, and that is your Grand Circle. Now, the Grand Circle is an amazing addition to this deck, but you have to specifically add 4 Charmer monsters from the deck to your hand and or grave or banishment. So if you have them in the hand, you're not going anywhere and you can't activate this card. The downside of that one is, yes, you do have to shuffle 2 cards back after you've added those 4, but the other is that from the graveyard, you can banish it to then fusion summon, utilizing Charmers or familiar possessed monsters from your hand or field. But your opponent cannot activate card effects when you do that fusion summon, but the idea is that you get to banish this from the graveyard and use your hand or field to do that fusion summon, which is really important. The other Spellbook card that I play that came in the deck is the Spellbook of Knowledge. 1 is more than enough. Like, the idea is you're going to normal summon down your Magician of Prophecy, search out your Spellbook of Grand Circle, and then just get you a nice draw too. Then for the Charmer cards, we are playing 3 Spirit Charmer. Discard a card, take 2 cards from the deck with different names from each other that are Charmer monsters, familiar possessed monsters, and or possessed spells and traps. Now the benefit is if you are going to play the familiar possessed versions of the Charmers, this card will be able to search it out. However, because it can also just search out your Charmer monsters, I prefer to go with the level 5s as they kind of bridge 2 jobs that I want them to do in this deck. We've then got 2 Grand Spiritual Art. Now the idea behind this one is, especially with so many turn 0 plays, and if you look at like Cool Tunes coming up, they will also have Clip that can be utilized during your turn. You've got Phimena, you've got Azuna. Like, these are all cards you need to keep in mind. Not to mention as well that there are sometimes there'll be Drawn Lockbirds, Ash Blossoms, Mulchummies, the list goes on and on and on. This will mandatorily negate the first card effect that is activated, or your first monster effect activated by your opponent. So if you're doing it during your turn, all you need to do is get a monster with 1,500 defense on the field. Now you have that with your Charmer monsters because your original Charmers have 1,500 defense and your Channelers also have 1,500 defense. The biggest downside of the Channelers is that they can't summon themselves to the field that easily unless one of your monsters is specifically destroyed by Battle War card effect, and that's where the Familiar Possess come in a little bit more consistently, as you can just normal summon them and off you go. One card that I would actually advise keeping an eye on as well to play in the deck is going to be your Fairy Tale Luna. The benefit of this one is that on normal summon you can either add a Familiar Possessed because it has 1,850 attack, or of course you can just search out your Challenger, so you've got a bit of flexibility. The reason we're playing 2 and not 3 is that inside this that didn't come in the deck, I'm playing 1 Terraforming, and the reason for that one is that we're playing more field spells both in our side deck and of course another one in the main deck. Then we do play 3 possessed spells or traps, being 1 Awakening, 1 Partnership, and 1 Unpossessed. The idea is that the Awakening allows you to buff your monsters by 300, and it's all monsters by 300 for each different attribute you control, which is really good. And then if a monster with 1,850 and normal attack is normal or specialed, you draw a card. Your Possessed Partnership, you special summon a spellcaster with 1,500 defense from your hand or graveyard in a tap position or face down defense position. And if you do, if you control monsters with 2 or more different attributes, you get to destroy 1 face-up card on the field. You can also banish it from the graveyard to target a possessed card, continue a spell or trap in the grave, and then place it face-up on the field. If a familiar possessed monster attacks an opponent's monster, it gains 800 attack during the damage calculation. But then if a monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, while this card is already face up in the spell and trap zone, special summon a spellcaster monster with 1,500 defense from your deck, with the attribute being different from at least one monster that was destroyed in face-up attack or defense, face-down defense decision. So again, the benefit is if you get one of your channelers destroyed, you float otherwise, or you get rid of your original charmer, you float into a channeler. So you've got more consistency bouncing between those two. Then the engine that I'm choosing to play, because it did come in the decks, is the Horus package. So the Horus package currently takes up 6 slots that came with the deck and then 1 that didn't. But the idea is that this 7-card engine, being 2 King Sarcophagus, 1 Happy, and then 3 Mseti, can very easily be replaced with a Fiendsmith package, being cards along the lines of your Engraver, Tract if you wanted to, Lorries if you wanted to, but you can actually keep the Fiendsmith package to a minimum, because the idea is you just get 2 level 3s, go into Jin, Jin into Requiem, and off you go. So you'd probably just play like Lacrima, Engraver, and then 1 other space, and then that means you can play like other cards of your choosing. Now the card that didn't come in the deck that you're going to play for this one is the 1 Walls of the Imperial Tomb. And the reason for this one is it does treat itself as King Sarcophagus. It does allow you to search out Mseti, but it does mean that you have to put a card from your hand back onto the deck, which again is absolutely fine, because if you do open up your Charmers or your Channelers and you're like, I don't want these in my hand, you can put them back. Other cards that we're going to add to this one is the 1 Terraforming. So this is the reason that we're not playing 3 of the field spell, but if you wanted to, you could do. But the idea is that the Terraforming can become the Imperial Tomb, or it can become the Grand Art. Then the Spellbook card that I'm playing that isn't in the deck is the Spellbook of Judgment. So I just like the idea that during the main phase of the turn this card was activated, you add Spellbook cards from the deck to the hand, except Judgment, up to number of spell cards activated after this card's resolution, and then you get to special summon from the deck a Spellcaster type monster which level is less than or equal to the number of cards added to the hand. So the idea is you're playing Secrets, Grand Circle, and you're also playing Knowledge. So if you do want to activate this, you have that option to it. I was highly tempted to play Fate, but I felt that Fate was a little bit too specific in order to kind of resolve it. You don't have to play this. It's just something that I was like, hey, you know what? I actually quite like Spellbooks. This is a card that I feel could be added in. And if you wanted to make it more consistent, you can also play a second Knowledge. Other cards that didn't come in the deck, but I highly advise you adding into the deck, is 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring and 3 Mulchummy Foolos. Both of these came in the Legendary 5Ds deck, so again, relatively easy to pick up if you just want to add them to the deck without breaking the bank. And to be honest, no matter what version you're playing, you're going to want to consider these cards. So that's it for the entire main deck. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the extra deck. This is where a little bit more of an outside budget will come into it, but again, nothing too strenuous, nothing too crazy, as most of the cards are really, really cheap or just had a recent reprint. So let's start with the cards that are inside the deck. So inside the deck, you're going to be playing 3 of your Charmers of the Grand Circle. Now, you can play this at 2 if you wish to, but I actually really, really like it. I quite like what it can kind of offer to you. And it requires 2 Charmers or Familiar Possessed monsters, and if this card is Fusion Summoned, you get to activate the following effect for each different attribute used for its Fusion Summon, maximum 4. You can apply one of the effects, and you choose one of the effects, but you get it to apply them multiple times. So you can either give this card 800 attack, add a possessed spell or trap from the deck to the hand, return a card on the field to the hand, or special summon a spellcaster monster from your graveyard. So you can do that up to 4 times if you use all 4 different attributes, which I think is really, really kind of cool. And the fact it brings back any spellcaster means you can very easily upgrade your little Charmers into your big Charmers if you were to use them as fusion summoning material. Then the other cards that were inside these decks do play the 1 Zombie Vampire for the Horus plays, just to become a bit of an extender, but also a bit of an excavator. Being able to kind of get some of your cards to the graveyard could be really, really useful, especially if you're able to bring back and then fuse with them and move on from there. Or even if you were to just excavate your spellbook Grand Circle and you haven't been able to activate it, as long as you have the materials to fuse, you could then still fuse with it. Then got the one, well, yeah, we'll go with the Selene first. We've got 1 Selene and 1 Access Code, that's pretty standard. And then you've got your option of your 4 Charmers. So I've gone with Win and I've gone with Heater, mainly because Fulos is running around and then Ash is running around. So these are probably, in my opinion, the most consistent. But if you're going to an environment that is more earth or water heavy, then you consider putting these 2 cards in as well, or instead. Then for the cards that are not inside the structure, unfortunately, Dark and Liner were completely missing. I don't know the exact reason why. The only thing that I could possibly imagine is the fact that they don't appear in the original lore and they're probably not going to appear in the Chronicle decks. But right now, maybe we get these as a reprint later on. The idea is that being able to get either Dark or Liner is entirely up to you. You just have a different attribute. I go with Dark just because of the environment that I'm going to. But if Liner is more effective for you, go for Liner instead. Then we've got the 1 SP Little Knight, just a generic Link 2. Then we've got 2 Crowley, the First Prophecia. I don't think you need to play 2. Like, I'm highly contemplating putting a rank 5 in here just as an alternative option. But the idea behind this card is it requires 2 spellcasters. And if it is link summoned, you get to reveal 3 spellbook cards with different names from the deck. Your opponent randomly picks one for you to add to the hand, and you shuffle the rest back into the deck. Then on top of that is once turn, each time a level 5 or higher spellcaster, you can be normal summoned without tribute. The benefit of that one is it means you can technically just normal summon down your Imseti, which can sometimes be really cool. The other downside, or the other benefit of this one is if your opponent stops your Magician of Prophecy and you're able to extend with an Imseti, link this into this guy. This guy can then reveal Secrets, Knowledge, and Grand Circle, and then the idea is you're trying to get one of those. So you're trying to give yourself a 66% chance to get what the card you need, which is the Grand Circle, because if they choose Secrets, you use Secrets to get the Grand Circle. So, which is why I feel you can probably cut it down to 1. For the fusion monster, I've got the 1 Magister's Torozo. This is just an ideal scenario because you can tribute off the monsters as it's fusion summon to special summon it, and it gives you a bit more of a defensive option that if your opponent attacks it, or just in general, when a monster declares an attack, target it, negate the attack, and if you do, this card gains that equal to that monster's attack, and then you return that monster to the hand. So that's really quite useful. One thing you can also consider is super polymerization, and the benefit of something like that is you've got so many different spaces in the extra deck you can kind of free up if you wanted to, that you have ways to do it. The only downside is that you're already discarding off of your Spirit Charmer spell card. You've got your Inseti that you're discarding off of. Yes, you've got a lot of cards you don't mind discarding, but you have to see them in conjunction with each other. And then the final 2 cards are just rank 8 of your choosing. I've gone with number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord as the monster negator, and then I've got the Hope Harbinger as the spell negator. Keeping in mind that you could also consider Dingirsu, you could go for Infection Buzz King if you wanted to. It depends on how hard you want to lean into the rank 8s. I decided to go with Monster Negator, Spell Negator, and then an Extender, so it's entirely up to you. So that's it for the entire main deck and the extra deck. Now to show you the side deck. So the one thing that this version of the deck doesn't do, and that is respect Droll and Lockbird. So you do need to play a couple of cards that lets you protect against Droll and Lockbird, but once we go through the monsters, I'll then explain those particular cards that you're going to be utilising in order to give you everything you need. So for the monsters in our side deck, we're going to go with 3 Droll and Lockbird ourselves, and we're going to back this up, once I tidy it up a little bit, with 3 Nibiru the Primal Being. Both of these came in Legendary 5Ds, and Nibiru came in the Chronicles Fallen and the Virtuous. You could, of course, if you wanted to, play the Fallen and the Virtuous in the deck as well. Gives you a little bit more of a oomph. But again, I tried to keep everything as core as I could. So 3 Nibiru, 3 Droll and Lockbird. And then I've gone with 3 Forbidden Droplet. The reason for this one is, again, already, if you hard open up any of your Charmers or Channelers or anything along those lines, you can send them, get the advantage off them, then activate the Grand Circle and recycle them all back. Then the card that is quite exclusive to spellcasters is the Secret Village of the Spellcaster. Again, you can max out on it. You can go for 3 if you wanted to. The idea behind 2 is that we're already playing Terraforming. Ideally, you're going first, so you'd probably consider whether you need access to your Horus package or not, or which one you'd want to focus on. Get the Secret Village, lock your opponent down from not being able to use spells, and then move on and go again. And then the final cards that I'm playing in order to kind of counteract Droll and Lockbird, or just any card that might cause me a bit of an issue as I'm trying to build my field, is 3 Salesban and the 1 Crossout Designator. So Crossout Designator again came as a common in the Legendary 5Ds, and Salesban is a common in the most recent OTS pack, so you should be able to pick them up either online or just by going to your local store. There might be some in bulk, or you might have a friend that's gone, yeah, I've got loads of those, I don't need them, here, have them. The idea is that you would call a card once you look at your hand, a card that would pretty much stop you playing. So if you're like, well, Droll wrecks this hand, call Droll. They need to start having multiple interactions with you in order to kind of stop you building. Now, you're not going to build the most impenetrable field in the entire world, but it's just one of these ones that you want to try and bet up that you don't just go, cool, search Droll. Especially in a deck like this where your Imseti wants to search, your Grand Circle wants to search, you've got your Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, you've got your Spellbook Magician of Secrets, all of it wants to search and add from the deck to the grave, so you need to make sure you protect yourself where at all possible. So that's it for the entire main deck. As mentioned throughout the video, there are like loads of different versions of this deck. You can go down loads of different routes depending on how far you want to take it. If you want to step it up a level, by all means, Fiendsmith package is definitely one that I would consider right now, just because it's actually relatively easy to get to. But then you also have to look for if you can get the familiar Possessed liner and the original liner, the Light Charmer and the Dark Charmer, you can start adding them into the deck. I haven't looked at their prices right now. I think they were like £1 online, but then you've got to take into account some postage. Hopefully in the next OTS set, which I believe is going to come out 11th of February, we get a reprint of the original liner and the Dark, because they've only ever had 1 print each, which is wild. Anyway, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a demo test stand video just to kind of show you, or going first and going second, of what this deck wants to try and achieve and how it tries to achieve it. So we'll be back in a second. So, as mentioned in the profile, the best way to show you exactly what this deck wants to try and do is with a randomized test combo. Now, if you are playing a different version, post Burst Protocol, maybe going down the Rescue Ace route, going down the Magister's route, or heck, if you want to play it right now with a different option, you can go down the Fiendsmith route as well. And that all comes off the back of your Fusion monster being able to facilitate pretty much all of those lines. What I decided to do is keep this build, as mentioned, as close to what you get in the Chronicle Decks Spirit Charmer version, just to make sure that you don't really need to take that big of a step just yet. You can do some minor upgrades to the deck, give it a run out, and then decide which version you want to go with. So what I'll do with this one, just because it's at the end of the profiles, I'll do one random hand going first and a random hand going second, just so you can kind of see what the deck wants to try to achieve. So we're going to start off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, not the best, but by all means not the worst. Like, going first, you never really want to see your Fulos, and this is the downside of playing the Horus package. You can always see these pieces. But we do have 2 ways to get us where we need to go. We've got the Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, and then we also have the Spellbook of Secrets. So we're going to be able to actually get quite a lot of advantage off the back of this, and I'll show you exactly how we're going to do that. So you start off by normal summoning down the Magician of Prophecy. If this does get an interaction from your opponent, whether that be an Ash, Veiler, Imperm, you name it, that's fine, because you've got the Spellbook of Secrets to do the exact same job. Now, the first card you're always going to want to try and get when you can resolve it, whether it be the Spellbook of Secrets or the Magician of Prophecy, is going to be your Spellbook of Grand Circle. Now what we can do, because the Spellbook Magician of Prophecy isn't really adding anything to us right now, is we can choose to activate the Spellbook of Secrets. This will allow us to add a Spellbook card from the deck to the hand, and again, we can work our way into the Spellbook of Knowledge. Now, there's a couple of different routes, because ultimately what you could do is you could go for Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, and rather than searching the Grand Circle, you could actually search yourself out your Judgment, which means you could then activate the Judgment, activate the Knowledge, that would be 1, the Secrets, grab your Spellbook of Circle, that's going to give you a guaranteed 2, and then whatever other spells you play. But because we're going to go for the randomized draw off the Spellbook of Knowledge, because if we get access to either our Horus package or just more kind of discard fodder cards, we'll be in a fairly decent position. Now, I would probably advise, before you do that, that you resolve the Spellbook of Grand Circle. Yes, we play 8 targets that could be added off of the back of this, because it just needs you to acquire 4 charm monsters with different attributes. But if you were to draw 2 of the same attribute, it kind of scuppers the plan. So I would make sure you activate and resolve this first, and it also deck thins, which is quite nice. Now, if you're going for the Fiendsmith package, you just go for all the level 3s. You will be needing to put 2 cards back, which is absolutely fine, because we can put back Happy and Fulos. So not that much of a loss there. Now, of course, you can very easily go for your familiar the channelers, which are the level 5s. It doesn't make much of a difference because you're still going to use them as fusion fodder. It's not really the end of the world. Now, because of this particular hand, I'm actually going to keep all 4 of these in the hand, and I'm going to put 2 back. So Full Loss is of no use to me right now. Happy is of no use to me right now, because if I do end up using Spellbook of Knowledge, and I'm able to get hold of a... Obviously, the last thing you want to do is get the 2 cards we just put back, but that's risk and reward. If you are able to get access into the Horus package, then you're going to be in Dreamland, which is really good. So we're going to shuffle up, cut up a little bit there. Activate the knowledge, send our Spellbook Magician, draw 2, being Imseti and a Spellbook. So that's like near perfect. Like you could have got King Sarcophagus, you could have got 3 of the Imseti, so that's 3 Imseti, 2 King Sarcophagus, 1 Terraforming, and then also the Field Spell as well. So you had loads of options there. Magician of Prophecy isn't really worth it for us, so we'll just discard the Imseti with the Spellbook. We'll grab ourselves our King Sarcophagus. Now, the reason that we're not using our Fusion Summon as of yet is by doing it this way, we now open up the ability to protect from Nibiru if we want to. We also open up the ability to extend a little bit further if we want to get extra greedy. So we'll shuffle this up. We get the one random draw for the back of our Imseti, going for another Magician of Prophecy. Okay, then. Okay, so activate the King Sarcophagus. We've done everything we need to now. You can choose to get rid of your own Spellbook. Doesn't matter much of a difference. I want to use all 4 of the effects off of my Fusion monster. So I'm going to get rid of this. We're going to send our Happy, wherever it may be. There we go. Send the Happy. And then we want to be as defensive as possible on this one. We don't need to extend anywhere. So we'll bring back Happy. We'll bring back Imseti. We'll overlay both of these. You can go into Zombie Vampire for extension. We don't want to be doing that. You can go for your Hope Harbinger if you want to deal with spells. But we're just going to go straight for a Monster Protector because I'm actually going to bring loads of monsters back to the field. So we'll go for our number 90 Galaxy Lore. We're going to tuck that to one side out of the way. Because now what we can do is we can use the Graveyard effect of the Grand Circle. Going to banish this. This then allows us to use all 4. You don't have to use all 4. Of course, you can use a lot less. We're going to use all 4 of that. We're going to summon out our Charmer. The reason you put your Charmer in the extra monster zone is it means you can get all 4 of your monsters to come back. Not that you need to do all 4 of the monsters, because I'm actually going to do 2 and 2. So with this one, we're going to be able to resolve the following effects. Now, the only reason you wouldn't put it in the extra monster zone is if you're planning to make the Fiendsmith package, because you then need to use this as link fodder and you need to get your Requiem, and so you need to be very careful not to clog that up. So we can even make this card gain 800 times 4, which we're not going to do. We're going to add a possessed spell or trap from our deck to the hand, and then we can return a card on the field to the hand and special summon a spellcaster monster from our graveyard. Now, it doesn't need to specifically be a Charmer, but if you were going for the Fiendsmith package, you just bring back 2, you overlay both of those and go into the Djinn, and then off you go from there. If you want to be working your way into the Rescue Ace line, you make sure you bring back Heater. Heater's your fire monster. You work your way into Promethean Princess. Princess brings back Heater again. Both of those together goes into the Link 4 Rescue Ace. And then if you're going into the Magistus, unfortunately you do need the original liner, because then you attribute off your Charmers of the Grand Circle and the original liner to get you into the Familiar Possessed liner, and then that would then get you access to Zorora. So loads of different options there. We're going to bring 2 back. I'm going to search out 2. I'm going to go for Possessed Partnerships, just to give me as much disruption as possible. And then you can either go for... Let's just go straight for the Awakening Possessed. So we've got everything we need to. And we're just going to make our monsters a little bit stronger as well. Don't know why I put this in attack. Very easily be in defense. Activate the Awakening Possessed. We can set these 2, do whatever you really want to with that one. And now we've got the option to kind of link higher up, do whatever we want. So if we put both of these together, honestly, it's not really worth going for the Crowley. And the reason I say that is we've already gone through the Grand Circle, we've already gone through Secrets, and we've already gone through the Magician of Prophecy. So like, this isn't really worth going to. The other options that you have is you can go into any of your Charmers if your opponents try to hand interact with you. You could also very easily tribute off your Charmers of the Grand Circle and work your way into a Magistus Torozo by tributing off one of those. Or you can just very simply go into an SP Little Knight. Really is up to you. What I do quite like the idea of is at the moment, the only attribute that is like doubled up on this field is Lights. So monsters I control gain 300 attack for each different attribute I control. So all of my monsters are going to be up by 900 attack. Then on top of that is if a spellcaster with 1,800 original attack is normal or specialed, to my field I get to draw a card. We've got the Possessed Partnership to special summon a spellcaster with 1,500 defense from a hand or grave in attack position or face down defense position. And if you control 2 or more monsters with different attributes, which we will do, you get to destroy a face-up card on the field. And then we also have the Unpossessed. Charmer monsters we control cannot be destroyed by battle. And if your familiar possessed monster attacks an opponent's monster, it gains 800 attack. And then if a monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, while this card is already face up in your spell and trap zone, you get special summon a spellcaster with 1,500 defense from the deck with a different attribute from at least one of those destroyed monsters' original attribute on the field in attack or face down defense position. Now, it's a bit of a shame that it specifically special summons it from the deck, but you do have other targets you can utilize off the back of that. So honestly, the best thing you could probably do here would be to get rid of this and get rid of either one, really, and go into an SP list tonight. Because now you've still got 3 different attributes. These are all now going to be up by 900, so it makes SP Little Knight quite awkward to deal with as well. And then, so this is already kind of like used. This is already face up on the field as well. And then these 2 are set. So then during your opponent's turn, you can flip up Possessed Partnership, special on a spellcaster with 1,500 defense from the hand or grave. So we've got plenty of those. Now I'm actually going to put it in face down defense position. Depending on what matchup you're in, I guess. If you're going against wind deck, going up against a earth deck, or if you're going up against a water deck, you put one of those face down. The benefit on top of that is because you've got 2 monsters with different attributes, you get to destroy a face-up card. So you can clear off whatever your opponent's kind of like presented to the field. And then you've still got SP Little Knight, you've still got Unpossessed, this will be in the graveyard. You've still got your Galaxy Photon Lord. So you can kind of adapt it as you see fit and be as defensive as you want. Yes, you got rid of your entire hand, but you kind of like made your entire field. As mentioned previously, if you want to make the deck better and you want to make it as competitive as possible, you will need to splash in those sub-engines of Fiendsmiths and everything else in between. So now what I'll do, just to kind of give you the full circle of everything, is we'll go second. So I'll show you how much difference that 6th card makes. Now, trying to interact with an already pre-built field is going to be a little bit awkward with this particular type of deck. The idea is that you want to be utilizing your Horus package to be as aggressive as possible and try and bait out as many interactions as possible as well. So I've got another decent shuffle and a good old cut. I'll now show you what we do. Go in second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's actually quite a resilient hand. Now what I mean by that is we're going to start off by activating Terraforming. If our opponent does draw us, okay, sad days, it's just kind of something you need to be very aware of if you're playing this version of the deck. Now I've already got access to the Horus package, so I don't need to go for that one. I'm going to go for the mandatory first negate, which will let me get the Grand Spiritual Art. We're going to activate the Grand Spiritual Art. Now you've got 2 different options here. Option number 1. So we could normal summon down our Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. The benefit of doing something like this is that we get access to another spellbook. The downside is you kind of want a monster with 1,800 and 1,500 defense, which is going to be the Water Channeler. You can discard this card and one other water monster to add a water monster from the deck to the hand with equal or higher level than the other discarded monster, but you can't activate water monster effect for the rest of the turn. And then when your water monster is destroyed by battle, you get to special this card from the hand. So you'd be better off trying to crash your Spellbook Magician of Prophecy than anything else. Because right now we don't have the full protection, and we don't really want to discard this. There's no benefit of discarding this card right now. So what we'll do here is we'll go normal summon down the Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. We'll utilise the effect of this one. Remember as well, we get to reveal a spellcaster monster from our hand to add a monster with the same attribute, but with 1,500 attack and 200 defense. So we can get like any mini spellbook, any mini charmer, from our deck to our hand if we want to. So we use the Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. We've already got a Grand Circle. You can go for Secrets if you want to deck things. You'd go activate Secrets, deck Fin, and grab Knowledge. Again, you've got loads of different options here. You can activate the Knowledge. The only benefit of activating the Knowledge is that you're just going to draw 2 new cards. If you do this, draw 2 new cards. It's always Magician of Prophecy. Again, this is still absolutely fine, because what you can do here is you can now use Imseti, put those to the graveyard. These will now give us access to King Sarcophagus, wherever it may be. There we go. We get a random draw 1 as well. Randomly draw 1. That's absolutely fine, because now we can activate King Sarcophagus. Activate this, discard this, grab us, or send, sorry, from deck to grave. Oh, happy. There we go. Now we've got the option to revive both of these back. Now, if you want to be extra defensive because of a hand interaction or a monster effect, you would overlay both of these, go into Photon Lord, Zombie Vampire, you name it. Like they're your options, okay? We're going to activate the Spellbook of Grand Circle. We're going to add our Charmers. So we'll add 1 Earth. Actually, we don't even need to get these, to be fair. That being said, if I want to use all 4 of them, I can do. Just double check on the fusion. Yeah, I can get like all 4 of the channelers back to the field, which would be kind of cool. So there's our fire, earth. Let's go over our water. Put 2 back. Put back Iria, as that is the least relevant one for you right now. And let's put back Possessed Partnerships. So I've got these in hand. I can now use the fusion effect, banishing this, going into this. Going to use all 4 of these. Then we'll be able to use the effect of this one. We can either make it very, very strong, or you're just going to bring back 2. So the arrows are going to bring back 2. I now control a monster with 1500 defense, by the way, so I can mandatory negate the first monster effect my opponent activates. In doing so, I then get to add 2 possessed spells and traps, and the reason I want to go for that one is I want to grab myself the Awaken the Possessed and Possessed Partnership. And as you can see, I have 5 different attributes on the field, so this will be set. We'll activate the Awakening Possessed. Monsters I control gain 300 attack for each different attribute I control. And then Charmers and Familiar Possessed, these are always counted as Charmers, can't be destroyed by card effect. So now I've got an insanely powerful Imseti, which is going to be up by 1500, so 4,500 here. These are all going to be up themselves in attack, and so is this. So we're still in a very, very good position. And if I really, really wanted to, I could make a rank 5 play. I could also make make another fusion play. I could go for another link play. Like if I wanted to get really greedy, I could go for a link play here. And we'll use, I'm just using this as an overextension to show you what we can do. So we can use Crowley. Crowley can reveal 3 in the deck. 1, 2, 3. Now keep in mind, I would only make Crowley if I hadn't used Secrets of Spellbook of Secrets at the start. But even then, like, it's just not worth making Crowley. But I would only do that if I didn't do it, okay? And the benefit of this one is that level 5 or higher spellcasters, I can normal summon without tribute, which means that all of my channelers become normal summonable, which is really cool. Otherwise, you can just very easily make a rank 5, which would be really kind of cool. It's a shame, like, I kind of want this to be a 5. That would be really cool. Anyway, so we've got these. These are all going to be, like, you're better off just leaving them on the field, because ultimately, if you don't clear the field here, you've got the Possessed Partnership as well to special summon a spellcaster from the hand or graveyard. So this is where you'd probably want to keep the area, actually. So thinking a step ahead on that one. Anyway, that just kind of gives you a bit of an insight on what this deck wants to try and do. Like I said, this is not the best version of the deck. I still think that there are other versions that you can play that will give you a little bit more of an edge on your opponent, specifically like the Fiendsmith package, specifically like the Magister's package, and I definitely actually quite like the Rescue Ace package as well, because it only takes out like a couple of cards, or you'd probably use this as an engine in Rescue Ace. The Fiendsmith is probably like the most flexible right now until Burst Protocol, and then after that you're probably going to be looking at the Magistus, but the Magistus does require you to get a couple of different, or like extra added cards as well. Anyway, that's it for the entire video. Any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I am more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.